Welcome, my dear lovers, to yet another episode of yours truly. I'm your host, Sumant Joshi, ready to navigate the nooks and crevices of love and relationships. Today I have the Sotos, Jose and Sairi. They've been together for almost 10 years and married for over 4. And we talk about the role of vulnerability in building strong relationships. I know I say this every time, but this episode goes deep into why we do what we do and how our childhood and upbringing deeply affects our behavior today. Whether you're single or committed, this episode will challenge you, so tune in and enjoy. I never thought I'd have a love and dating podcast.
This is amazing.
Yeah, me neither.
I love it.
I've been meaning to ask you, like, what happened, what changed, how did that idea?
So Staria asked me this, and the listeners are going to get this answer many, many times, obviously, because everyone's going to ask me, right? Staria asked me last week that, hey, why love and dating? So long story short, ever since I was a child, ever since I can remember, I wanted to find my one true love. I thought I grew up watching these like romantic movies, and like Indian romantic movies are on another level.
Yeah.
You know,
like
they can talk to each other from like 7 seas apart, something, you know, supernatural stuff. You know, the love is it's crazy. It's insane. And so I grew up watching those, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna find my one true love. And I remember like the first time I thought I had a girlfriend. I think I was like 9 or 10, and she got mad at me, and I was pretty upset.
Yeah.
I thought she like broke up with me. You know, like back then you break your friendships, right? Like we're not friends anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Kids do that.
your friend breakup.
We used to do that daily.
You're not
with the
invited
same
to my birthday.
with the same guy. Yeah, with the same guy.
Yeah.
That's how I was growing up in my teenage years. Like everyone I would be with, I was like, okay, this is it. This is my person. I'm gonna get married. You know, I would start planning my future instantly.
So you're that type of guy.
I am that type of guy.
I am that guy.
Oh, I am.
I'm that guy.
I am. If you talk to the women I've been out on dates with, I would say 2-3 years ago, they would be like, sometimes he got like pretty aggro pretty quick. Because so I would, in my head, I would think, well, she's perfect. And not knowing, I would like rush. I would be, hey, let's hang out again. Hey, let's go do this again. Mm-hmm. We just hung out today. Let's you want to get dinner?
Yeah.
It's lunchtime now, but let's get dinner.
Yeah.
You know, so let's just spend the whole time together.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a mistake. Don't do that, guys. Anybody listening, guys, girls, whoever you are, however you identify, do not do that.
I want to pick your brain a little bit about that. Have you ever like looked back and been like, why? Like why did you always want that true love? Like, have you ever looked into like what type of childhood trauma you may have had because of this, and that's why you are the person you are today?
It's part of it. So it transformed into the fear of being alone. It started with the romantic movies, and it started with finding my one true love. And then over and over, when I didn't find it, it got more and more intensified. It was like, oh my God, am I ever going to find it? So when I thought that I found it, I was like, okay, I better lock this up. I better hold on to it as quickly as I can. That was a thought process. That was that, you know, my girlfriend when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, none of those relationships worked out. Even in my early 20s, mid-20s, none of that worked out. So as I was getting older, in my head, I was like, oh my God, I better like hold on to this. And that stopped, I would say maybe a few months before I met Josephine. And it completely stopped when I met Josephine. But I was more at peace with myself.
I love that.
It was being more okay with myself and not feeling the need to grab onto something, grabbing onto her, grabbing onto the relationship or anything like that. But it was like, okay, I'm cool.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Yeah, because Josephine's an extremely independent person, so I can't see her allowing an anxious attachment or something like that. I like that.
If you ask her, as chill as I am, I mean, I have to be because our personalities are different, but never rushed anything at all.
We rushed a lot of stuff.
We did. We look back on it and we're like, let's be realistic here. Like, would you have still done it at this point? And then we kind of both look at each other, probably not.
We did it, and then we did. we were together for like 5 years, dating, but we were very young as well.
Well, I think age was one of the biggest factors because, I mean, who wants to be married when they're 18 years old? I mean, it's just not a thing, you know?
How old were you guys when you got together?
When we first met, not met each other, when we first started dating, I was 16.
Yeah, I would say we were talking and we hadn't met.
We were just talking online.
That's the best part.
We were just talking online. It was more of like that, like virtual.
Yeah, we were just talking and, you know, back and forth. But, you know.
Everybody knows this story, by the way.
In my defense, you know, in my defense, I had seen her already in high school, right? And but never spoke with her or anything. I was dating somebody else then. That relationship ended, so I'm out partying. So is she. And
we're in our party era.
I see her like at the only Hispanic club at that time in Nashville. Like I see her there, and she's wearing the bracelet that says that she's 21 or older. And I have this huge X in my hand saying that I'm not, right? So I do see her. She's wearing this red dress with her sisters. I'm with my group of friends. And I didn't say a word. I don't even know if you saw me that day or not. But I saw her.
I'll never tell you.
And I don't know if you saw it. I posted the tweet.
The conversation.
I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that.
I sent her a DM asking, hey, did you go to Apollo, which was my middle. I knew her from somewhere, right? I actually knew exactly where I knew her from.
I was about to say, he's a straight up liar because I know he knew.
But that was the question, you know, through Twitter, DMs, like I asked her that.
You got to have a way to slide in first.
Yes. So then we start talking, you know, conversation. December 5th, or no, December. It wasn't the 5th yet.
It's the beginning of December.
I'm going to Florida for a wedding, you know, my friend. And I tell her that. And she's like, oh, no, you're going to miss my birthday. Like, I'm sorry, but, you know, I'm like the best man or something. And I was like, oh, how old are you turning? She's like, I'm turning 17. I'm 19 at the time, right? I was 19?
Yeah.
I was 19 at the time. And I'm like, Google search, like, how old, you know, can I date if I'm this age or whatever.
Yeah.
I was in the clear, but technically she turned 17 in a few days, so we were just 2 years apart. So after that, getting her to the first date was an issue. She was a bad kid. She kept getting in trouble. She kept getting her phone taken up.
Always grounded.
If we were supposed to go on a date on Saturday and she did something bad in school, she would get her phone taken up on, you know, so then I had no communication with her. It was bad.
He was dating a child.
Yeah, it was bad. But
So let's talk about that real fast. Were you guys born in the U.S.?
No.
Nope.
I wasn't either. So we're all immigrants.
Yep.
Now, I came here when I was, I think, 19, 20, and you guys were younger, I would say, in teenage years. You were 9.
7.
You were 7. So growing up as a child of an immigrant, does that happen to us more, to immigrant children more than American kids?
What?
That they get their phones taken away, that their parents are more strict? Because Indian parents can be extremely, like, they can be on that extreme end where, like, hey, no phones, you're grounded, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't wear this, you can't wear that, but at another level.
I think it's definitely a cultural thing. Being in an unknown country, I don't know if they also had some sort of trauma themselves and they want to keep us safe, and that's their way of trying to keep us safe and keep us kind of enclosed. But on my end, my mom, I feel like, had always been extremely strict. So like you just kind of had to be extremely, like, follow the rules. But then also as a kid, like, what do you do when someone tells you no? You know, you try to rebel. You're like, I don't want to do that. Like, I'm going to do the opposite that you're telling me to do.
Yeah.
So there's that thin line in parenting. And we're not parents, but like, I know that if someone tells me no, it gives me more of an idea. I'm like, I'm gonna find a way to do it. I'm just not gonna let you know.
We're so different. So I'm an only child.
Well, it's only because of the different types of parents that we have, yeah.
I'm an only child. She's the middle child of 2 other sisters, right? For me, it was like, you can do whatever you want as long as there's an open line of communication. You can skip school. as long as you tell me where you're going to go and with who, and you do your homework afterwards, or you do your work. You can go to parties and, come back on Sunday at 6 a.m. as long as I know exactly where you're at, who you're with, and what you're doing, right? Like, I had that. And so I would tell my parents what I was going to do, and they would say yes or no. If they say no, I would say why. They'd say, I don't trust that kid. He gives me this. Like, they would give me a reason behind it. There's always a lot of conversation. I feel like with her was a lot different. If no was no matter what, it's because I'm your mother and I know better, and that's it.
It was that, like, I don't know how you call, like, different parenting styles, but more authoritarian. Is that authoritative? I don't know.
Authoritarian, yeah.
Yeah. But it was like she's the leader, and, like, nothing. Even with my dad, like, I could ask my dad, and he'd be like, ask your mom. So mom is on top, mm-hmm. right? Mom still is on top. Mm-hmm. We're just not living home anymore. But I would say, yeah, like, mom said no, and it was like crying. Why not? Come mm-hmm. on. And it was almost like the more we threw tantrums and the more we were like, well, why not? She'd be like, well, now even worse. Like, now you're not going to go to the next get together 2 weeks from now because, like, you won't shut up.
Yeah. I think that makes it worse because that is a very cultural thing. Mm-hmm. And I think it stems from, and I'll just say this, it stems from mom and dad not talking about it because dad's like, hey, I don't want to make your mom mad. I love her. She can do whatever she wants. Mm-hmm. She can be in charge of the kids.
Right.
So he's out. And mom doesn't really want to explain herself. Mm-hmm. It comes down to, oh, do I need to explain myself to you, little child?
Right.
And that is something that happens in Indian families, a lot of, I would say, immigrant families, foreign families, that it could be ego, it could be the way they were raised, it could be 100%. Not knowing any better. But I know this, we don't talk about religion, but this is conversational, so I'll say this. I was raised as a Hindu, and 99% of Hindus are told something to do because you're told to do it. You're never told a reason.
Just because.
Mm-hmm. Follow this because I told you so. Do this because I told you so. And if you question it, then you are a rebel. You're disrespectful. You don't respect your elders. And that is some BS. And I was... Growing up, I was sheltered until I was 12, 13 and a half. And as soon as puberty hit, I guess things went crazy. And I was not as sheltered. I had more freedom. And when I was 15, 16, 17, I was free to do whatever. I was not going to school. I think my attendance was like 30%. Wow. My parents had to show up first year of high school. And the teachers were like, hey, this is pretty bad. We know he goes out with his girlfriend, this, that, and the other. And I'm giggling on the side. And I'm trying to look embarrassed so that we can get on with this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm laughing in my own head. And my parents are like feeling so bad. And my mom's partly crying. And I'm like, what? What is going on? It's the authority. And it's that, hey, don't you question me, where that comes in. And it's... Yeah. I'm not a parent either. I mean, I have 3 dogs, but oh well. I'm not a parent either, but there's a big reason why certain types of parenting, certain religions go forward, certain ideas go forward because you tell the person why.
Right.
Because you're like, hey, we're going to do this because of this reason. Mm-hmm. So when we help somebody explain something, it goes a long way, and it's not just do it because I said so.
Right. And I don't think parents really realize the damage that they're doing as they're parenting their way. Like, it can be a mixture of the things that you said, like maybe how they were raised, maybe they don't know any better, or ego. And it could be a mixture of all three. So in their way, I mean, nobody teaches you how to be a parent. And if their parents were worse to them, then I'm sure they're trying, right? I feel like they don't realize the damage that they do to us growing up and all the things that we're going to have in the back of our minds, how we're going to act in other relationships, how we're going to act with our husbands, with our kids in the future as well. And I feel like, and we'll lead more a little bit into this, but that is exactly why therapy was the key to us. 100%. Because we had so much unresolved childhood trauma that was completely unhealed, unresolved. And if I think that if I personally wouldn't have gone through that, like, there's still a lot of like bitterness, and like I feel kind of upset of why I was raised the way I was raised, and like why I act the way I act. And I still have conversation with my mom, and I'm like, Mom, check yourself. You know, like till this day, like she still wants to be like I'm like, I don't live with you anymore. I don't have, like, I can literally just walk away. Don't need to I'm not forced to be here because I'm not living under your roof, because those were her rules. Because I said so, and because I pay the bills, and because you're under my roof, which her rules, whatever. Part of the reason, and she knows this, so I'm sure when this podcast comes out and she hears it, she's gonna be like, what the heck? But part of the reason why I moved out so quick, because I'm like, I can't deal with this. Like, imagine being 16, 17 years old and still not having a personal cell phone. What the heck? Everybody had cars, and I can't even have a cell phone?
Wow.
I got my first car at 16, and my dad said I have a down payment, and you get a job, and you finish paying it off, you know, with your job. That's exactly what we did. We bought it, and I got me a job right after school and paid off the car. You know, I remember it's $9,000. It was a 09 Scion TC with 9,000 miles on it. Like, I'll never forget that, you know? And we bought it. He put the down payment, and I paid off the rest of the money by working. You know?
Do you think that happened because you are an only child, and on top of that, you're a man, like a boy? Or was it cultural differences from... Because you're from... Cuba. Mexico. Or was it that?
Yeah, I think being an only child, yes. Being a boy, I don't know why it makes a difference, but
yeah,
you know,
it
does.
Big difference.
But still till today, you look at how my parents do things with us. It's like now it's not just me, it's her. Like whatever we need, like they're there, mm-hmm. you know? And just the way they raised me, I remember with that same car that I bought, you know, I'm 16, I have a car, I start racing.
You're a cool guy.
You know?
If you have a Scion, two-door.
Yeah, during that time, and that was like 2010. It was on 09. So I had that car, I'm racing that car. I have a friend right next to me recording, right? And he has a smart idea of putting it on Facebook, right? So it goes on Facebook. My mom gets a call. I get home that day, and they're sitting down in the living room, and you know they're like, "Come, we have to talk to you." Like, I have no idea what's happening. We're talking. Just like, I saw a video online. You're racing. I just want to make sure that you understand what goes on when you race a car. You know. I'm like, I go past the speed limit, and you know it's illegal, and it's like, no. You're racing, and you're in public street. There could be kids in that car. There could be, you know, entire family. If you hit yourself against the wall, and that's your decision, and everybody that was in that car knew exactly what they were doing. But if you hit another car that has kids, and so she painted a really bad picture in my head, and I was like, wow. You know, I was like, wow, that's so true. She's like, you can race, just go to the track, do things right, you know? And from that point on, like every time I was speeding or doing anything, I kept racing, right? But it had that in the back of my head. I was like, dang, like it's so true. Like I'm putting other people around me at risk, just not myself. So I think conversations like that are the difference between, you don't have a car anymore, I'm taking the car away, I put the down payment, the title is under my name, I pay insurance, I pay this.
They belittle you.
You know? So instead they were like, you're grown. I just want to make sure that you're aware of what you're doing, you know? Now that you are, you make your own decisions and move on from there, you know? So
belittling sucks. I've been belittled, not by my parents necessarily, but other family. And I don't know why they think it works.
It makes them feel better.
I think so.
Right.
I think it's just, it satisfies that inner ego of I'm better, I'm great. And with what you just said, Jose, there's a level of vulnerability that your parents went to with you and they took you with them. Mm-hmm. So it was not, vulnerability is not weakness, it became a strength.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
Mm-hmm. Which most likely helped you when you guys got together because you were like that the way you were raised. Mm-hmm. It helped you become vulnerable in the beginning. Was that the case?
I don't think so. No. It's kind of crazy to see because I see his parents now. His parents are amazing, amazing humans, but he was the most stubborn person I'd ever met. The most stubborn person. I'm talking, you couldn't talk to him because it was his way. And I don't know if part of that, my inner child was looking for that because that's what I was used to. And that is why I stuck around the beginning stages of our relationship, because I think maybe up until about 2 years into our relationship is whenever things started kind of more like leveling out. You know, you have these like in a month, weeks, days, whatever, where it's like constant arguing. It's like, what the heck? Why is every little thing an argument? Like, you think about it and I'm like, why are we arguing about this? But for the first 2 years of our relationship, I think it was a shock to him to be with someone who was so anxiously attached and to be as controlling as I was. Because I had that controlling aspect like my mother did, you know, whenever I was younger. And so I would come and I'm like, well, where are you going? He was not used to that. His parents were never asking him, like, where are you going? He just knew that he could text him, just be like, hey, I'll be here. I wasn't used to that, you know? So I'm like, why are you hanging out with them? Where are you going? Why are you always with this guy? Like, what's going on? You know? And so I felt like that brought up a lot of problems at the beginning. And he was like, who are you to come into my life now and tell me what to do? You know, like, you're not my mom. My mom doesn't even do this. So there was a big kind of, I would say, like, we had to get used to each other at first, which after therapy, that's not the way to do it. Like, I wish we would have worked on a lot of things earlier on in our relationship, and God knows what would have happened, because we were much younger. We didn't know a lot of what we were doing, and so who knows? We may not even be together if we would have done therapy and we would have actually, like, healed ourselves and been like, well, are we really right for each other? And we did it later on, but, you know, it's never too late. But I don't necessarily think, going back to your question, that his parents being the way they were with him helped him with his persona, because that's not what I experienced with him.
You couldn't tell me no, you know? And it's funny because I feel like I've been like a long-term relationship. Like, I had a 3-year relationship before I met her, you know, and I met her when I was 19. So at that age, having a 3-year relationship, I feel like that says a lot, you know. But coming out of that, I just had all the freedom in the world. And it's funny that she experienced that, because my previous relationship, that was the main issue. You're so stubborn. Like, I can't get anything through you. And then I had told myself, my next relationship, I'm not going to be as stubborn. And then she still notices, you know, me being like that. But I think with them being so open and you can do this, you can do that, I was like, I can do it. Why do I have to tell her where I'm at all times? You know, especially when Apple released an update that you could track the location of your phone, you know?
But at that point in our relationship, I was like, it was more of like a controlling aspect of it, because I was like,
safety, you know?
Supposed safety. Everybody can say safety. Well, yes, part of it, like, make sure you're okay. But also, I'm like, why have you been at Sonic for 2 hours? Like, zooming in, have you moved from this spot?
It was toxic.
I mean, it's like, I was still in my teenage years, you know, so, and I hadn't had like I could also technically say I've only been in long-term relationships, but Like, it had never been like a serious relationship where like he met my parents and they approved of him and they wanted him around constantly and they knew he was a good person. So this was like my first stable relationship that everybody was aware of, everybody knew about. So I don't know.
Happened. Yeah.
So much happened. Next question.
So no, we're definitely staying here for a second because I'm really glad that you brought up the controlling part. A lot of couples, I feel like, suffer through that. Even now, and you were teenagers, right? So
Right.
that's the basics. Like, a lot of people do that in the beginning. And I know couples that are in their 20s, even early 30s, that have not let go of that habit, that toxicity. Either the guy does it, the girl does it, they both do it. How did you get over that hump? How did you stop doing that? How did you both work that piece out? Because this part, what you're about to say, I think is going to help millions of people out there. And what to do if someone is not able to get over that hump.
I don't think this is the perfect answer because I think that up until recently we hadn't actually gotten the whole relationship situated. We had really good periods of it's fine. Like, I keep telling myself, I'm like, he's his own person, he's fine. But then I would have like really awful times where I don't know if it's insecurity or what it was, it would just hit me and I'd be like, no, but like, why are you hanging out with him? Like, why are you doing this? So we had a lot of up and downs. And I mean, we've been together now for over 10 years. So like, over the course of those 10 years, I mean, we have been like 3 or 4 different people, like we are completely different people than from where we met. So I don't think I have the right answer because until we actually started being coached, we did not. And we still work on it till this day, every single day, of like being more mindful as to each other's needs. Because before I was just mindful of my own needs and what I needed. And I expected him to be able to cover my needs and his needs. And again, it's a cultural thing because in Mexican culture, the man is the one that's supposed to be the provider, the one that's supposed to be the protector, the one that's supposed to financially be there and emotionally and I wouldn't say emotionally because there's a lot of cultural, I feel like, things right there that
hold everything inside until you die.
Yeah. So I don't think we had the recipe. I think it was more of like and this is kind of unfortunate. It was like, do I really want to start over with someone else? Because I don't know if it's going to be better or worse. I was like, let me just stick through it. And we've had amazing times in our lives. But I don't think I have the right answer for it. I think it's just more of like a seek, not necessarily professional advice in a way of like, oh, go see a shrink. No, get someone who's going to mentor you and coach you and to actually see your flaws and to be like, right there, like our coach stops us in the middle of the conversation and she's like,
they fight.
Hold on. I've gotten into multiple arguments with her and I'm sure we were very close. She was close to firing me as a client because, again, that controlling aspect of wanting me to control the whole situation, I'm like, well, why am I going to be in touch with my feminine side? Like, no, I don't want to be feminine. I want to still be independent. She's like, well, it's not feminine in a way where it's like you completely just like let him, take control. No, it's like be in touch with your feminine side. You can still be independent. You can still do your own things, but you don't have to be controlling. I think the coaching is key.
Yeah, in my opinion, her coaching style was so good because she started with me separately, and then she worked with her as well. And then towards the end, that's when things really got, heated. So when we first started thinking about getting any type of coaching, we weren't doing good at all, right? Go ahead.
Question, did you have any expectations going in?
No, so...
Into coaching?
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to resolve a lot of, like, unresolved issues that we had that and this will come up, but I'm very much of a let's talk about it now so that way we don't have issues later. And he's let's drop it and we'll talk about it later. But that later never comes. And so continue.
Yeah, I'm a look, we know what happened.
He's avoidant.
Why do we have to keep, like, I know I was wrong. I hope you know that I was wrong, but let's just not talk about it and move on. Really different with her, right? So with our coach, before we even started even thinking about it, we knew that we weren't okay. So I said, yeah, babe, let's do some type of coaching. In my head, I'm like, I don't really need it. I don't really need it, but I do love you and I do want to continue, being with you, and I want this to work out, so let's do it. And in my head, I'm like, I don't cry. I don't have any type of anxiety attack or anything like that. Like I'm good, So I go in there and we start having this conversation with her, asking me so many random questions. Like we've been talking, like, how's your childhood? How's your mom? How's your dad? Like, what do you feel when you go through this? And I answer everything. And it turns out that I'm my parents, right? Like, that's an issue. So I parent my parents. My mom was really overprotective of me when I was a child. And all these things that happened, even though they were great parents, made me who I am today, Same thing with her. She went through that with her parents and with the coach. And then when she merged us together, I think we just learned how to talk and listen.
No, we were fighting like cats and dogs in front of her, and I was crying. Or we would start out and we're like, her first question's always like, well, how's today? How have you guys been? And we're like, good, been fine. She's like, okay.
Even before the call, we're like, I think this is going to be a great call. Like, we had a great 24 hours.
At the end of it, I'm like throwing things. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like crying, and I'm like, what in the world? Like, she sees right through the bullshit. I mean, really, she does. I don't know if I can cuss, but she sees through it. Yeah. And I'm like, how did we get here? Like, these are things that, and even at the beginning, we were so cautious on like what to say and how open can we be. And it goes back to being vulnerable. Like, it's about holding, you're like, no, if I'm vulnerable, then like I'm exposed. And with her, she like took that little brick wall down for both of us. And we were fully exposed, but we started feeling comfortable being exposed. Mm-hmm. And we were like, this is good. This is okay, because feeling like this and feeling vulnerable leads to better things, And so, again, I feel like working through her, I think we worked with her for 12 weeks, and I want to work with her for another 12 weeks. Yeah. Because it's not necessarily like relationship issues, but she also works into like professional, problems and stuff. And so how to overcome those obstacles and how to get better at being vulnerable, but in like a professional setting. And I think that's how we were able to overcome and communicate so much lately. And that, again, like, I don't feel like we have the key to it, but we're more mindful. Mm-hmm. And so whenever we say something that I'm like, oh no, I shouldn't have said that, I just reword it in a way where he doesn't feel attacked and I don't feel attacked.
Yeah, there's one that's like my favorite, we have like a timer, like 7:15, no more phones, right? And sometimes it just doesn't happen. And, we're in bed, we're watching TV. Nowadays, it's not Netflix anymore. It's just YouTube about chickens or gardening, Mm-hmm. And she has this phrase that it gets me every time,
And she knows it, too. We all do.
No, but it's a good one because she learned it from her. Before, it was like, babe, look at the time. Like, you're still scrolling. You're still doing this.
Don't get it wrong. I still sometimes have those days where I'm like, get the fuck off your phone.
Yeah.
Get off your phone.
And she's like, get off the phone, this and this. Like, and I'm like, she starts with that. And I'm like, dude, give me 2 seconds. Like, I'm just replying. the video's almost done, like whatever it is. Then she's like, yeah, but that's what you. So arguments start. Now I'm on my phone, not realizing what I'm doing. And what is it that you say?
Like, hun, I love it whenever we just spend time together and watch TV together uninterrupted.
Right? And I'm scrolling, right? And I'm like, and I think about that message, like, oof, yeah, I love it too. You know, so I put my phone up, charge it, leave it, but just the way you say things, you know, I think that's what we've learned to do.
It's literally the smallest little things. Like you just have to make the smallest tweaks, and it makes the biggest difference, because those have stopped our arguments at night with phones. And now we have Alexa telling us to put our phones away, and it's not me telling, you know? Mm-hmm. So it's those small things that, like, just change the dynamic of the relationship, you know? And it's caused us to be a lot more conscious of, like, each other, and we focus on other things. You know, we put our energy towards other things to, you know, better ourselves and work together.
That's beautiful. And
did you feel the power of that?
I did. Yeah.
It's crazy.
The first thing that you said, that, hey, put your phone away, or this, that, and the other, it's about vulnerability and maintaining it, but also helping your partner maintain their vulnerability with you. Mm-hmm. The first message comes across as an arrow to the eye. Mm-hmm. And your guard is immediately up. No matter how relaxed you are, your guard's up, your heart rate's up. And the second one comes at you like, I don't know, a spray of lavender.
Yes,
is what exactly. It sounds like. It's like somebody just sprayed a mist of lavender in your face, and you're like, oh,
yeah, 100%.
This is so nice. I guess I'll do that.
Yeah,
and that's beautiful. So I want to know, when you said in the beginning you were thinking, I don't need it, how quickly did that change when you went into coaching and therapy?
Right away. Like, right away. I think one of the first thing was, I didn't know how to say no. Right? She's like, how do you feel? What do you do? What's going on? And I was like, well, you know, I started saying all these things, and she's like, why do you do that? Is that who you are? You know? It's like, not really, but my friends are doing it. You know, so and everybody was gonna go, so I just went, you know. And then she's like, yeah, but if you think back, that's the type of man you want to be. Like, is that disrespectful to your wife? Is that something you want to continue on doing?
Yeah, because the no's came to me.
Correct.
Right? The no's came to me. The no's didn't go to you. The no's didn't go to Philip or Morgan or anybody, any friendships or anybody on the outside of the relationship. They didn't go. The no's were like non-existent. Mm-hmm. And so that was like I was like, in my head, that was like huge, you know? So that was one thing. The other thing was, she doesn't work anymore at her career job. We're both full-time investors. So now we spend a lot of time together, right? And there's a difference between, she's on her laptop, I'm on my laptop, we're looking at properties together, and we're spending all day together. There's a difference between that and quality time, right?
100%.
So whenever she would say, babe, we haven't spent any time together, I was like, dude, we just...
That was a straight argument. He was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
We've spent all day. We spend every single day together. Mm-hmm. And that was another big thing that he had to learn, that working together, that was work, you know? After 6 p.m., that was whenever our relationship would jump in and be like, okay, well, now, honey, do you want to go to dinner? What do you want to do? Do you want to cook together? No, it was like more of like we're overwhelmed about our work day, that like now I'm mentioning, let's spend quality time together. And he's like, so it's never enough. Like, when is enough?
That was huge, right? Mm-hmm. So that was something big that I had to understand and be like, okay, it's very, maybe I see it as quality time because I love the business. And for me to have her next to me, like, to me, that works, you know? But to her, she's like, this is stressful. I don't consider this quality time. Like, I want dinner. I want a movie. I want to go on a walk with you. I want other stuff other than working with you.
Which also helps you bond better. Have you seen that difference?
Yes.
Right? Because Because if you're spending more quality time when you're fully with each other, because Josephine and I do this a lot more often, especially in the last 6 to 12 months. Well, we've been together for a little over a year, but in the last 6 months, where we'll be more active and intentional. Hey, let's go do this, and let's just, fuck off from everything and, spend a night here or go to dinner or go to this festival or do something fun.
Right.
Yeah. We do that. I think those were like the main things. And of course, she had to learn a lot of stuff about me too. I think one of the biggest one was I need time. I like Call of Duty,
Yeah.
So I like paintballing, right? So what we did was, okay, how about there's a time frame of the week where no matter what's going on, that's my day, right? So Monday nights, catch me on Call of Duty. Like, I'll be online, I'll be playing. Every other Sunday, we haven't done it in a while, by the way.
We have not. It's been a minute.
So we get together.
He's gonna want to catch up every week, and it's just not.
Yeah, every other Sunday, like, we get together, we play paintball, and we do our thing. And I've learned that for her, she needs things planned out, right? It's very unfair. Like, if she has plans, and I'm like, oh, actually, I'm doing something else today. So if we can communicate and we can say, hey, Suman called me and he has a podcast that he would like to have us in, we schedule it, we do it, no issues.
Yeah. Even yesterday, what did you ask? Was it yesterday or this morning? You're like, hey, what do we have going on Wednesday? Mm-hmm. My friend is inviting me over to lunch, and I just want to make sure that Wednesday works. Do you have anything planned for us?
And she's
I'm
like,
let me check my calendar.
And she's like, I'll schedule a lunch with my friend on that same day. So now she's out with her friends. I'm out with my friends. No problems, But it's just, honestly, it all comes down to communication.
Yeah.
The way you ask things, what tone, like how
and
often.
how easy that is once we learn it versus, and I'm going to go back to the pressure that comes from society to say yes to society and sacrifice the people that are closest to you. Mm-hmm. We all do that. Mm-hmm. We all will entertain a friend that we see once a month or once in 3 months or once in 6 months. We're not sleeping with this friend. Mm-hmm. We're not going to have children with this friend. We're not going to have any sort of, in most cases, business affiliations or anything like that with this friend. But we still go to please them, and then we say no to people that are, again, closest. I think that is a big point that we all could work on.
Huge.
I could work on.
That's
and
huge.
we are actively.
Yeah.
Right.
So me personally, after working with my coach, again, like she mentioned, she's a relationship, but she specializes in people who do what we do. We have businesses. We are successful to some level, right? So with me, she was like, I thought of something else as soon as I said that, but
You want paper?
No. She wanted us to really think about who we were hanging out with, right? So,
Environment.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does Suman align with your goals? No. Right? if it's a no, then hey, Suman, I love you, brother. Like, call me anytime. But I can't be in this group chat with you and 6 other guys looking at memes, TikTok videos, and, call me anytime, right? But I'm out, right? But if you do align with me, then cool. I'm going to take you to lunch. I'm going to ask you about your future. I'm going to ask you.
Come to your podcast.
Yeah. How can we help each other?
Yeah.
Because we're right there.
Yeah.
And she said it. She was like, people come, people go. And some people are perfectly fine where they're at, but you want to keep going up, right? And that's okay. You can stay there. I'm going here. You can come with me, or you can stay where you're at.
And not in an arrogant way, but I don't know if you've ever listened to Layla Hormozi. I have this thing very clear in my head of like, I know she mentioned something about like you wanting to start a new business or a side hustle or whatever. She talks about a funnel, right? And I'm like, we need to use that in other aspects of our life, not necessarily just in a business, but like, let's pick a person, not to put it literally anybody on the spot, but pick any person, what are your goals? First of all, like, what are your goals? What are our goals? Do they align with our goals? Will they, one, help us get there? Will they prevent us from getting there? Start funneling it down, and whoever's left at the end, yes, yes, yes. We can say more yeses to them together than nos. But the people who are only bringing us down, taking our time away, making us lose our focus, completely distracting us from our goals, our end goal, in a very nice way.
Just scale it back.
Like, I cannot do this. I cannot continue to be on a group chat when my wife needs me at 8 p.m. at night, and that is also my personal time, but my personal time is being spent watching 15 TikToks that are from the whole day when they have nothing to do, or they have full-time jobs and their breaks are 15 minutes and they're sending things all day long, even with family members.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody struggles with this, but I mean, social media, if you're not creating, you're consuming, and it sucks. Like, you get sucked right back in there. So whenever I'm trying to do less TikTok in my life, you know, and I'm focused and I'm working and I get a text message about somebody, you know, making their car bounce, then I look at that, and then if I scroll one time, I'm there for 10, 15 minutes.
The chain starts.
Yeah.
Right?
And
the
then
chain
getting
starts.
back into focus to whatever I was doing, that took 30 minutes out of my day, you know? And I get those messages, or I used to, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times a day. So just leave, you know?
Now, again, I'm not saying that, like, because I have a lot of friends that I met through work, through my career. They're not preventing me from getting. Now, if I have free time on the weekend, or I have an afternoon where I'm free and I decide to take a random Tuesday off because, you know, it's so nice being business owners where we're like, we work on Saturdays and Sundays a lot. Well, let's take a random Tuesday or Wednesday off. Yes, I can go to lunch. Yes, I can do this. And it's something completely, like, not related to real estate. It's also really nice to have those friends where it's like you can almost kind of detach from that daily work, because I'm sorry, he loves real estate and he loves talking about it. He can talk about it 24/7. I cannot. Like, I have the switch where I can turn it on, turn it off. He does not have that switch. It's on. It's dimming all the time. It's almost kind of there all the time.
We've talked about that before. I've talked to him about that before. I think we did at Philip's party. Remember?
Yeah.
Somebody brought up, like, if you can't talk about anything else but real estate, you guys aren't really friends. So we really tried hard that day.
But if you guys really enjoy talking about real estate, that's okay. Like, we're not going to prevent you to do that. But I don't want to talk about real estate.
I don't either.
So
I don't
y'all
either.
are talking about real estate. I'm going to step out and I'm going to go talk to Josephine, or I'm going to go talk to Natalie, and we can have a completely different conversation, because I need my brain to not be constantly working. Like, on any normal day, you can ask me a question and I can almost respond to you immediately with, like, something, because I always have so much inside my head. So it's so nice to have those friends that you're like, you are not related to everything that I do every single day, but you're also not preventing me from getting to my goals. It's almost like a good break.
It's liberating.
Yes.
And, like, having those friends, it's also about being vulnerable enough with your partner that they know that, okay, you have your friends and you do your thing. Whereas earlier we talked about the controlling aspect, where if you don't have that vulnerability, your partner's always going to be concerned about, who are you hanging out with? What are you doing? Where are you going? Why do you want to not talk about real estate, or why do you not want to talk about what we do? Right. What is so interesting that they're telling you?
Yeah, and it's worked for us so far. I agree. Now, again, there always has to be a balance, and I think he's still actively trying to work on that balance, because he does not have a balance. It's all or nothing. And again, like, when it comes to professional versus versus personal, there has to be balance, because I'm his business partner. At the end of the day, I'm his wife, but I'm also his business partner, and his parents are my business partners as well. Regardless of what me and him have going on, I still have to constantly be communicating with his parents, because they are business partners in many of our deals. And so that's another big thing. Family's involved, and it's hard to detach. We can be having dinner with his dad, and his dad is just like him. And he'll bring up a rant like, hey, the drywall guy didn't show up today, but he's
literally in the middle of dinner. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And
Yeah.
then lately I've done it once, literally just once, because I don't like saying anything. Like, I like to be respectful, and I'm like, I get it. It's just who he is. But the other day I was on the treadmill, and he called me for
7
something.
a.m.
It was 7 a.m. And he started talking to me about work, like, hey, like, did the Airbnb guest ever respond? And I was like, I was like, no, not today. You're not going to mess up my treadmill workout. I was like, hey, do you mind if we talk about it after I finish my workout and after I leave the gym? Like, right now, I'm trying to have a good workout, but as soon as I get out of here, I'll call you back, or I'll let Jose call you back regarding that. He was like, it took him completely. It was like off guard. It was a shock to him. He's like, yeah, that's fine.
I'm next to her. I'm like, good job, you know? Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
And setting those boundaries, I think, is extremely important,
that's
because
huge.
when we don't set those boundaries, you know that he is Jose's dad, and there are people who are struggling with setting that boundary, and that frustration trickles into your relationship.
Right.
And then it affects your relationship. It doesn't affect your relationship with his dad. You're like, yeah, let me get right on it. Let me stop running, and I'll
Right.
take care of this right away. And then you're going to be mad at him, and he's not going to know why.
Yeah.
And you will also not know why, but you'll just be like, well, your dad called me.
It's just frustrating.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like taking care of our stuff ourselves and just setting that boundary. And his dad was probably like, okay, that's fine, sure.
Yeah.
Like you said, he was caught off guard, but he was
Yeah.
like, okay, great.
Yeah, and I wasn't disrespectful, and that's another huge thing that I got taught from Ludmila, because I would also always be like, hey, hon, talk to your dad, because I'm so tired of him doing this and this and this and this. And he's like, okay, I'll talk to him. But then he continues to, I'm like, did you actually talk to him? And then she'd be like, why don't you talk to him? Like, why does he have to talk to him? Like, are you not independent enough to have a conversation, a respectful conversation with his father, his mother, his cousin, whoever? I am. And it kind of puts you to think, I'm like, well, why does he have to do it? Like, I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I've taken that responsibility off his plate, and I'm like, this is my responsibility.
And that was another thing. Like, can we have respectful conversations with people without escalating into anything else? Yes. How do you do that? Okay, well, the way you talk to people, right? On that example earlier, like, no, get off the phone, or I like it when we have uninterrupted quality time, you know? So it depends on how you say things. So also we learned how to do that, so.
I think vulnerability is bravery.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when, like when she said that, hey, I would really love if we could spend time together, some people could see that, oh, you're being weak, you're being soft. Mm-hmm. You're not putting yourself on top, like, you know, like you need to be supreme. No. Mm-hmm. You're being brave by opening yourself up, and then he comes in.
Right.
And that was the same, you know, what you did with his dad also. You were like, hey, I'm on the treadmill right now, I can't do it, versus, hey, I'm not going to do it right now.
Yeah.
It's the same concept as telling them why. We just came full circle, I
Yeah,
guess, in an
full
hour.
circle.
Yeah.
Full
It's
circle.
just telling them why.
We also, and this is going back to like finances and, you know, just who we are as a couple. Her parents do things very different than our parents. And the day we got married, we put one on one side, we put the other one on the other side, right? And I'm talking about bank accounts, right? In her parents' side, the dad has a bank account, the mom has a bank account. The mom doesn't know how much she has, the dad doesn't know how much she has. Completely separate, right? My side is all one bank account, right? They all know everything. Whatever you make goes into that bank account. So we had to make that decision and say,
How do we want to work this out?
Do we want to follow this method, or make our own? So we came to the conclusion of we're a family, we're married, we're trying to get ahead together. So let's do everything together. Let's put the money, we invest, we do everything, you know, as one. At the end of the day, I think that's like key in how we've done in business and life all together. Especially
like,
at
no
the
shame
beginning.
to anyone who does the whole 50-50 or they have completely separate. It works for them. It just, with where we wanted to get, it didn't work for us.
Yeah. And, you're talking about, I can't say the word, but being vulnerable, right? Whenever you told me that word, I was like, I can't say that word. Anyways, when you talk about that, it's like there's a certain fear. I feel like people go through that fear, like, that's my money. I work hard for that. If she ever goes off and does something, she's going to take my money, or she'll be able to. No, dude, you have to trust the person that you're married to.
Trust.
You have to be okay with being a family. You have to look at everything from now on as my wife and I, right? So I feel like a lot of people don't get past that. And
yeah, they don't. It's almost like they have that one foot out the door just in case. And for a while, I paid the bills. For
long time,
4 years of my career, I paid the bills. It was a huge shock to my culture and my upbringing, and a huge shock to my family, which, like, we've always been super open with finances and stuff, and everybody was like, what the heck? Like, why? What is he doing with his money? And to a certain extent, those small comments, they end up building up and they get to you. And I'm like, why? Where is this money? Like, he's working, he's doing things. He's not home for 12 hours of the day. Where's his money? Where is his money? So we would have a lot of talks, and I'm like, you need to step it up. Like, what's going on? I can't do this forever. This is not what I'm used to. And it was rough. I mean, it was rough for a little bit. I think first 2 years it was rough. After the last 2 years, I just got used to it. And I'm like, I have to look at the bigger picture. I really do have to look at the bigger picture, because if I can't get past this little moment, if I can't, a marriage is not necessarily 50-50. It's like, if I'm at a 20%, he'll fill in my 80% and he'll make us whole, right? But if he's just working hard just as much as I'm in school, and if I couldn't work, he would fill in my cup. You know what I'm saying? And it's not all about, like, where's your 50%? No, sometimes we just don't have any freaking energy to do anything, right? And it goes through finances, it goes with emotional, it goes with professional, it goes with everything. Like, he'll pick up my slack. I'll pick up his slack. Sometimes I have so much energy in the morning that I'm like, I've already done 10 things of our list. And he's like, what the heck? Like, it's 3 a.m.
That's like 80% of the time. Yeah, sometimes 80% of the time. Yeah.
I do. I always have a ton of energy, but whenever I'm feeling down and I just have my moments where I just want to be with the chickens all day, he's like, go be with the chickens all day. Go garden, go harvest, go cook if you want. You want to go get a pedicure, go do you. I got it. And it's, a lot of people don't see that big picture. They see that small moment where it's like, why do I have to pay the bills? Like, why am I the one having to pick up your slack? Like, you're committed to each other. And, like, at one point, you never know when you're going to need the other person. And if you're good to that person, they'll be good right back to you whenever you need their help. With friendships as well. Like, imagine if you were in need and I provided housing, or I provided something for you. Whenever you're on top and you're a billionaire, Suman's going to be like, they helped me. I'm going to help them.
Humans never tend to forget people who help them in the tough times. Be that financially, mentally, physically, wherever you are in a relationship, friendships, people don't forget that. And I think it's beautiful the way you guys have handled it and done it. And a lot of people needed to hear that you were taking care of it for 4 years. And I'm sure it was eating you up alive, because you constantly feel that, okay, I need to step it up. I need to step it up. I need to step it up.
Well, I just had to, I was building a business. I was working for free for 2 years for a builder, learning. So I was going to school during that time. But I just had to remind her, like, hey, hon, like, this is long term, right? Yes, we suck right now, And yes, your parents may be right. Like, you are holding down, the household right now. But trust me, like, this is going to be worth it. Because at that point, I already knew, right? I built 1, then 2, then I could do 3 at the time, then 4. Like, I already knew that it was working, right? So, and we could live off her paycheck. Like, her money was, most of the time, was enough. What was bad was that her money was everything that was paying the bills. You know, she would work hard and then she couldn't get a pair of shoes because bills had to be paid. Kind of sucks, you know, that you're working and you can't reward yourself. You can't go on vacation. You can't do all these things. But at the same time, we were building a business, or I was.
And if you think about it, like big picture, yes, I paid the bills for all of that. But I paid a small portion. He provided with him doing that with the builder and the mentoring and all of that stuff. Because of him, we were able to start our big rental portfolio. So he paid for assets. I was just able to like keep the stability right in the home.
That's teamwork.
Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of the people don't look at it that way. They're like, no, do not allow him to take advantage of you. I'm like, he's not taking advantage of me. It's a marriage. You know, like there's so much more than just a paycheck, right?
It's that 1 foot out of the door mentality, but at the same time, if you really truly feel that way, that somebody's taking advantage of you, then why are you still with them?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not going to say don't be dumb. Like, protect your assets, put your name in that company, make sure that you're also taken care of. Don't just trust, because you also never know. We're still two very different people. But if legally everything is there and the paperwork is there and the paperwork is signed, we're good.
You've also seen, you know.
Sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah, you've also seen the marriage where, for example, she pays all the bills. I build a company. Now I have $500,000 in there and I have 3 houses, then I leave. You know? So you've also seen people do that. Like, people aren't always good, you know? So you also see that. So
took a risk.
Yeah, no, but to her point, she's a partner now. And the rental company, we open our own wholesale flipping, you know? So now she got involved. But her sacrifice at the beginning was huge, and it played a huge role in
where we are today.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's the grit.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. It's like every successful person says, doing the thing when you don't know how exactly it's going to turn out, and you only have faith. And it's when that faith kicks in that makes us do the thing that made you work for free for that builder and made you take care of the household while you both were building that business.
Yeah. And most of the issues that we had, I kid you not, came from outside noise. People that didn't know our business, but they were able to look from outside and say, no, he's doing something wrong, or why are you doing that? They didn't really know the full picture, but...
And anything that I said seemed like an excuse. Mm-hmm. Like, if they were to ask me something, I'd be like, oh, it's because of this. They would almost kind of giggle. And it's like, yeah, okay. Like, you keep thinking that.
Where are those people today?
The same.
Yeah.
They're the same.
Yeah.
Except now we own 20 plus properties and we're continuing to flip. Like right now we have 5 rehabs or 5 rentals that we're remodeling right now. We have 3 flips going on. We actually just got under contract with a couple more. And I'm like, and you guys are still, again, no shame, like no shame to the W-2 people, but you guys are still in the same exact place that you were back then whenever you were putting your 2 cents in. You know? Not knowing
your household, not knowing your relationship.
And I'm like, if we were to stop working today, we'd be fine. Like if we were to stop real estate fully, we can do it. Now we have goals, right? We don't want to, but we could. Like, can you? And that's the only thing I hate about people putting in their 2 cents when they don't know the full picture. Like, check your family, check your finances, check everything first before you start talking about other people, because you don't know where you're going to be at in a few years. You know, you may be on top. Good for you, right? But I'm never going to go in and put in my 2 cents in your relationship and in your finances because I don't know, and it's not my business.
We tend to act out of fear a lot of times, but then we just don't realize that, and we act out of fear on every single thing. It's the insecurities and their own fear of being manipulated, and their own need to control not only their life, but other people's lives. Because we love giving feedback. We love giving advice. We all do. And thinking that maybe my advice would help her out, even though it might ruin her life, it makes us feel better.
That's why I look at the person giving the advice.
Exactly. I know me and you have had conversations that 100%. I'm like, dang, I go home and I'm like, Suma just left me, and I'm like still thinking about everything that he just said. I know that one time when we were at Philip's housewarming party, we had a long conversation about what our goals were and what our businesses were going to look like and what we were changing in our businesses. And I'm like, dang, like he had so many points that I had never thought about. And it's like so nice to be able to be in a room of people who you can actually take their, not necessarily take their advice, but you can listen to it and you're like, huh. It almost makes you think, and you're like, but in a good way, not in a way where it's like you're telling me what to do. You're telling me how to live my life. It's
the could. What could we do? Mm-hmm. You know, we always think about, and I talk about this on every episode, so people are going to be like, oh, there he is again.
Like, what the heck's he want?
Yeah. It's about what could we do versus what should we do. Mm-hmm. If we think about what should we do, we only have one or two things to do. Yeah. If we think about what could we do, there's so much potential. And I've been in that phase for the last almost a year now of reevaluating my business and aligning it with what I actually want to do with my life is what I'm going to spend my time towards versus just running after money or things that I don't enjoy.
Exactly.
And a lot of people are like, hey, but what about money? You did this and it made a bunch of money. And I was like, well, it's not fun.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy that part. So I'm just not going to do it.
You don't know how many times we've talked about just moving outside the United States.
So many, every day.
Yeah, moving outside the United States. We're gonna have kids soon, right? We've traveled. We have a couple other things we want to do, but do we want to raise our kids here, or in Europe, or Colombia, right?
Wink, wink,
wink, wink.
Yeah. So we think about that, and she's like, I want to do what I enjoy, you know? Why we got chickens? She enjoys that. You know, I keep thinking like we can't house any more chickens. Stop getting chickens, you know?
I'm already thinking about like where else I could put them.
Yeah, so but it's about what you said, like do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, right? If you can do it, stop thinking about what people are going to think, you know? I'm sure a lot of people, in your case, are like, bro, get the money. Go for it. It's worked. It worked all throughout, you know, COVID. Keep doing it. You're like, no, that's not everything. You know, I want to be okay with me and do the things I want to do every day, so.
Yeah. To me, it's all about balance. I feel like hustle culture is so normalized. It's so normalized and it's great. Like hustle culture is great, but it has so many side effects to your mental health. It has so many side effects. Like I'm sure to your finances is great, but you come to a point where you're just like continuing to chase the next deal, the next thing, the next paycheck, and I'm like, I don't want to live my life that way. I want to not have to worry, be able to have that passive income. Now, the hustling that we've been doing, right, it's what's gotten us here today because of the hustle. So don't get it wrong. Like you have to hustle to be able to get to, you know, your big goals and stuff. But the people who continue to hustle for 30, 40, 50 years, or they work for a company for that long and then they just want to retire at 65 and they want to live off of a $3,000 paycheck. If that's your plan, perfect, right? But like, I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to retire at 65. Like, I want to do my work and cruise, right? I want to cruise. I don't want to know about it anymore. I want to have multiple sources of income that I'm working on now to be able to do that life, right? A lot of people don't even get a new pair of shoes. They don't go on a single trip, or they go on one trip every 5 years because of their goals, which good for them. But then tomorrow is literally never promised. And to us, it's been all about balance. For a while, yes, we did travel. We're slowing down a little bit, but it's gonna pick back up. It's gonna pick back up. I'm like, if anything ever happens to me or to us, like, I would be so happy because I've lived my life in balance. I have done the things that I wanted to do when I wanted to do them, even though people were telling me, don't do that. Stop doing that. Why are you doing that? Because I want to, and I'm happy, right? It makes me happy, it makes us happy. And so as long as me and him are on the same page, like, we have learned to completely block out the external noise.
You'll be surprised what you can do when you put yourself like in that situation, right? We would be like on our way back from a trip, and she was already like at the airport, like booking the next trip. And I was like, hon, we have to work. We have to make these things happen. Like, let's wait maybe 2 more months. And she was like, I think we can do it. I think if we book it and we put ourselves that deadline, then we can work, do what we have to do, and still. So it was a challenge.
It's more of a challenge.
Yeah, and
like,
it's crazy. Like, you can work away from your home, you can make things happen. So we got a construction manager. We got a VA that handles a lot of things. So many great things came from us not being available and traveling. Just like COVID. When COVID happened, horrible thing to happen. But look at how many things came from that.
Work from home.
We were closing deals through a FaceTime call, and notarizing things through an app. Now we don't have to show up to office anymore. So a lot of things happened from that. So we saw that in our business as well.
I don't want to chase anymore, right? Like, I don't want that, oh, we have a goal to meet. We have like this to meet. Like, yes, we have goals to meet, but now they're separate, like, they're completely different than they were before. Right? And I almost feel like if you slow down your mind and you're more at peace with where you're at and you're happy with where you're at and you're not chasing the happiness and you're tagging happiness with money, then it's so crazy the amount of things have come to us without us having to chase it, because it's almost like manifesting. We're manifesting a completely different life and we're not chasing anymore, right? And things just come to us. Right? And it's been a really great past few months. Really, it really has. Like, after coaching and after changing our mentality, it's brought so much good.
It boils down to not thinking out of fear anymore. You're the center, the part of your brain that's related to fear, that's not in charge anymore. So you're manifesting the life that you truly want, because you do understand that what we think and the environment we are in is what we truly become. And when people continue to think with fear, that's all they attract. And then that's all they project. And with hustle culture, I want to say that we, or just in general, the trend right now is listening to people in their 20s and 30s a lot more than listening to people in their 50s and 60s, especially about hustle. If you listen to someone that's in their 50s or 60s, they'll tell you more about, hey, do what you love, do this because you love it. You hear somebody that's 25 years old is crushing it, doing great, but they're like, go do this, go do that. It's all about money.
All about money, and I don't like that. There were sleepless nights. I'm telling you, nights where I'm like, we have to make this work. We have to make it work. Tomorrow we have to wake up and we have to do this and this and this and this and this. And my mind was it's still nonstop, but it's in a different way. But it was nonstop to the point where it was so stressful, I would cry. And I'm like, this is not what I want to do. This has got to stop. And take advice from, take bits and pieces from different people. Whatever works for you, yes, that may work for them. If they want to wake up and make $100,000 a day, good for them, right? They also have a team that they're managing of 20, 30, 40 people. They also have to manage, right? So that's how they're making it work. I don't want to manage 40 people. I don't want to do that. And a lot of people look at all of these real estate gurus, like you're saying, they're all booming, right? But it's chasing that little shiny object, because they're we have projected profit of $500,000 this month. What is it taking you to get there? How many people are behind you doing that? Is that realistic for me starting out in real estate? Right? And then you start chasing, the chase starts, right? It starts from me making the phone calls. Then I have to hire out this, and then I have to hire out this, and this, and this, and this, and this. 10 years later, yes, projected profit of $500,000, that's fine. But it doesn't happen overnight, right? Like the hustle culture starts with that tiny, shiny little object that you're wanting to start chasing, you know?
Because fake it till you make it is a real thing. And a lot of people will fake a lot of things to make it. They make it, but they fake a lot of it in the process. Mm-hmm. And I think it's taking advantage of the FOMO and the greed of the human nature. Mm-hmm. We all have FOMO, we all have greed. We can let go of it at some level, but it kicks in a lot, especially if you're a business owner, if you're into entrepreneurship. Taking advantage of the greed and the FOMO and teaching them, okay, I'm going to teach you all of these things, and then you can go do all of these things. And by the time you're halfway there, you're like, did I really even want this, or did I just get hyped up in the beginning? Or was I fed enough words that got me hyped up to do this, but I don't even really want this? Yeah. I want the result, but I don't want to get there this way.
Yeah. Why do you think I have that channel on
that was,
my
that was one thing I was going to touch on.
I love that channel.
I don't say, hey, here's what you need to do. Like, no, here's what I'm doing. Look at it, learn whatever you can, make it fit your personality and your goals, and do your thing, you know? And I feel like that's a lot better. I wish I would have seen somebody do that and show me like the back door of like the business, you know?
So a lot of people think that like there's so much competition. Like I always go back to this specific thing. Like my mom is a great cook. She's a great cook. But no matter how many times she gave that recipe to somebody, she could give it to 10 people. And I could try every one of them. I knew that it wasn't my mom's, right? So he could show everybody. He could give away subs. He could do all of this stuff. It may not work out for that person, right? Like the competition is like, it's not with other people. Like you should never feel like you're in a competition with anyone else. Like I can't imagine not being able to go to you and be like, hey, Suman, I need this. And you're like, I'm going to give her that. Like she's going to take my job away and this is how I pay the bills. With that mentality of fear, like nothing.
Scarcity.
Exactly. Like, no, trust me that there is enough properties for everybody to purchase and become rich.
And
right?
There's so many people that still think that way and still withhold information because they think that if they give that up, then their business is gone.
Or they only give that up if they're making money.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Here's my course. Like, let's start out at $500, but that gives you 1% of information because I have a $10,000 course coming up, right?
Yep.
So I just, again, it's more about like you provide value for people and it's going to multiply back to you. And this is exactly what's happened with us.
It's the kindness that compounds over time and comes back. And this translates even in a relationship. If you're simply kind to your partner, it is going to come back to you. It may not come back immediately. They may not see it immediately, but all of that is going to compound and compound and compound and come back to you. And I commend you guys for sticking through the things that you did because lots and lots of people would have just given up and moved on.
And that's a new thing now.
My first question with my coach was, why are you doing this? Like, why do you want to fight for her? Why continue to do this if, you know, you're still having issues after 9 years or so, you know? And you have to be able to answer that question or else just walk out, don't pay the $4,000 and just be done with it, you know? But we had a lot going on. Obviously, we loved each other. We wanted to still be with each other, but we didn't know how, you know? So it took a lot to sit there, open up, be completely honest about how we felt and, you know, just make it work.
Yeah, and we also want to show the raw side of things, like the behind the scenes, because a lot of the people look at social media and they look up to a lot of people through social media and not knowing what actually happens behind closed doors, not knowing the amount of work that it takes to get to where we are financially or personally or professionally, right? And so I think our biggest goal is to just make sure that people don't just fall for like social media and just random things where it's like people just want to take your money, or they don't care, or like they want this like they want to fake it, right? They want to fake it, or it's just this fake image of them out there. Like, no, we've been extremely open, not with this podcast, but previous conversations that we've had with people of things we actually go through. Like, right? Like, I'm not going to tell you, I'm going to actively call you, Suman, and be like, hey, I'm fighting with Jose right now, right? I'm not going to do that. But it's nice to know that, like, things are not perfect. And a lot of people really connect with people who are realistic and they're raw with their things and they don't hold a lot of things back, right? It's like you almost connect and you're like I went through that too. Like, it's nice to know that it's not only me.
We have arguments all the time, and sometimes I can't even understand why she's mad. It's to the point, it's like, hey, I am having a really hard time, but you are raging mad. So there's clearly I did something wrong.
Right.
So like, help me understand more, tell me a little bit more about this, and let me put myself in your shoes and understand this, that, and the other. But yes, it's very real.
How do you make your partner feel better when they're upset? Maybe not mad at you, but just having a bad day.
I already know what you're going to say.
Having a bad day, I tend to just listen. I don't talk. I'm just listening.
Okay.
Because, so she talks and she likes to talk, so I'll let her talk.
Okay.
She's having a bad day, we'll just, I'll let her talk, let her finish, chill, watch a movie. Yeah. That.
I already know what you're going to say.
What? What am I going to say?
You know how to make me happy. Anytime I'm upset, like, this will fix it.
Oh my God. Like, one or the other, right? Like, I'll either order food, we'll go out to eat, or I need to have a bag of hot Cheetos available.
I was about to say, because you posted about the hot Cheetos a few times.
It's food. I don't know. I have a food addiction. I have to stop it.
I think we're all addicted to food, that's for sure.
Right.
We all have to eat.
That's him making you feel better, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I really do. Like, I feel like food is like comfort for me. And anytime I'm upset and he's like, let's eat this tonight, or like, let's go here, or like, honey, I brought you some Cheetos. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not even upset anymore.
It works. The other day we were at an event. We had 2 hours left. Mm-hmm. She was cold sweating, really nauseous, leaning on my shoulder.
Like, I don't feel
She's like, I'm getting sick. I think I have a fever. All these things. And I'm concerned. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's leave. It was like almost like 12:45 or something like that. And
no, it was the day before. It was like 5 or 6 p.m.
I don't know, but it was.
Oh, it was the day of your event. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So we're leaving, and I remember her mentioning like pizza, right, from Desano's. It's like, okay, let's go have this. And she tried to fight it at first. She's like, I don't want to feel bloated. I was like, babe.
I'm like, I don't want to feel worse.
You've been mentioning it. Let's go have it. We go. Pizza comes. Like, she hasn't even tasted the thing, right? And she's already like, I'm going to fuck you up. She's making jokes and she's good. And I'm sitting there watching this and I'm like,
this girl.
I'm like, it was the food. Like, the nauseous is gone, the fever, whatever you were feeling.
It wasn't. I don't know what it was. It was I've never felt like that before. It was weird. But the pizza made me feel better.
For sure.
It did.
I think we all need to take note of that, of noticing and knowing what gets your partner out of a slump or just out of having a bad day.
He's been intentional, but I will say, do not let your partner just like imagine what you would like. You have to voice it, right? Because for a long time, I was like, well, you should know. Well, I don't, right?
Why do we think that way? That's so many people out there.
It really is, and I feel like it brings a lot of problems because you expect so much from that individual that they're like, I'm also human. Like, I don't know. I don't have a magic crystal ball. I don't know what's wrong with you, right? I don't know why you're upset. But if you voice it, if you say, hey, communicate and be like, this is what's wrong, or hey, in the future, if this happens, this is what would make me feel better. If I don't know, like, I would prefer this reaction over this. This would help a lot more than you screaming or you yelling or just voice it out, because your partner, like, I feel like they don't know. As much as we want them to know, they don't know. He's learned it. I mean, we've been together for a long time, and he's barely getting the hang of, like, knowing and being conscious and intentional about everything that goes on, right? And me too, right? Because, like, I cannot relate with him with video games. I can't relate with him with paintball. Now, he can go to the mall with me, and I expect him to go to the mall with me and try on clothes, right? But then when he's like, I'd like for you to come see me, like, play paintball, I'm like, I'm not going. I'm like, why am I like that? He comes with me whenever I do the things that I like. Mm-hmm. Like, I should be able to do that and make that sacrifice for him as well.
Have you done that yet?
Not yet. We're working on it.
It's a thing. Like, I did say, like, I'll invite you. If you have the time, come over. And she's like, I can just sit there and watch you get hit by paintball and this and that. I was like, yeah, but I can go to the mall with you and watch you try on dresses, you know? So, and then she's like, okay, that's a
like,
fair.
it really puts things into perspective, because when you're upset or you want someone to do it, like, you're not thinking of other things. I'm not like, okay, well, he's been going to the mall, unless he voices it. That I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like, you do a lot of things for me that I know you don't want to do. But you do it because you love me and you want to be there for me, and it makes me feel better. So, like, why not do it for you? Why not, like, give that as well, right?
I think it's stepping into your partner's shoes, but not just thinking, oh, well, let me step into their shoes and see what's going on, and then stepping back out. Like, actually stepping into their shoes and thinking, what is this person going through, and how can I help them, and what can I do, and what is my role? Yeah. And a lot of times it's not even, oh, I'll do this and that'll make them happy, but it's like, oh, I know what makes them happy, and let me just be a catalyst to that.
Yeah, right. I think it's just, again, communication. For us, for example, around the house, we have a rule. The last person to get off the bed does the bed, right? If she does breakfast, usually I'll do my breakfast. She does her breakfast. We like our eggs different. But if she does breakfast, dude, wash the dishes, you know? I'll mop. I'll clean the bathroom. She'll do, like, the closet. She'll do the laundry. So we have, like, split things, you know, things that we're good at.
Things that we're better at, that I'm like, I'd rather not do that. He's like, I don't mind this, so, like, let me do it.
She's like, I am not doing the bathroom. I was like, I don't mind doing the bathroom. You know, like.
But they're communicated. Yeah. You talked about it.
Exactly. Correct. And I think love languages are a huge thing, because I
didn't know that existed. By the way.
No, it is a thing. I'm telling you, it's a thing, because you can show your partner, you can buy your partner the whole Gucci, Louis Vuitton store, right? But if that's not her love language, like, gifts are not her love language, and you're like, but I buy you all of these things, and this is how I show my love to you. Well, you're being selfish, because first of all, you need to learn how does she feel loved, right? Is it quality time, right? Is it words of affirmation? Like, what is it? Because, again, you can buy her the whole store. You can buy her the whole world. You can take her on vacation every single day. But if you're not, like, spending those last 30 minutes of quality time with her at the end of the day, she'll never feel loved.
How do we figure out what exactly our love language is? Because I'm sure it changes, but a lot of people just say what they think may be right.
I took the test. I think it's like 60 questions or something like that. And it makes you answer questions, like, based on what you would prefer. And it gives you, like, a whole, like, table of, like, this is the biggest one, and then there's a following up one. I mean, it gives you all 5 of them, like, at, like, least percentage to the most percentage. So that's kind of how you will know. I mean, you're kind of screwed if you have, like, an equal part of every single one of them, because you're like, what the heck? You're, like, rubbing his back while you're telling her you love her with a gift in your hand, that's kind of hard. But just taking the test, I mean, it's like free online, but it makes you, like, actually think about each question.
Realize, I'm like, oh, I like that. That's true, you know?
Yeah, like, I do like it whenever he brings me, like, it's like a thought, like, that he went to the mall and he bought me Starbucks, right? And he brought it back. Like, it's those kind of things where it's like those small details make the biggest difference because he thought of me, and that equals he loves me. Shouldn't. It does.
It's just
right?
how it works, yeah. For me,
How it
just
works.
touch my head
He's like,
while I fall asleep. That's all I need.
Oh.
aw.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's kind of
That is
everything
so
kind of
amazing.
wrapped. That's us.
There's a lot. There's a lot. I don't think that's everything. I think that's just a little snippet, but there's so
That's a
much
very
that
tiny.
goes
That's a
on.
very very tiny snippet. But I think she meant like in terms of
Like it's a well-rounded
Yeah.
conversation.
the conversation.
Yes. But I think continue to date. For us,
Huge.
For-
That's huge. Good job.
yes, for us, 10 years together, I've dated like 5 different versions of her. The most recent one is a wannabe homestead, you know.
Oh, a wannabe.
Yeah.
Well, because we don't have a lot
We
of
don't have
yard.
land, you know, but now it's like a whole different. She's happy, she forgets her phone, she's like out there in her own world. Before it was like traveling, you know, before that it was being a nurse, doing her career. So like you date different people throughout the years and you have to be able to accept that and
to
learn
adjust.
and just adjust to whatever it is. I'm sure she's dated a million of me, you know, but I think just continue to date, be aware of like the changes happening. People grow up and they look at things very different. I think we're going through a huge change ourselves right now.
Huge.
But if you do that and, you know, love yourself first, like know who you are. I think we were talking about that at the
Yeah,
beginning. Like,
yeah.
you went through that, right? Stop depending on her
For your happiness.
for your happiness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, and don't expect them to make you happy. That's it. Just
You
be
have
okay
to
with
be
yourself.
happy on your own, and then it's a bonus if you have someone else that also brings you happiness.
And just block everybody else's like opinions. Like people think that we should have had like a 5-year-old by now, right?
And they continue
Yeah.
to ask. And
Yeah.
then that's the question now. It's like
That's another-
society. Society is like the nice house, the American dream, the nice car, you have your career. Like, you follow these steps, and there's always a next step. But just like I say, like, that we are so not doing the chase. Like, we are not following society's rules. Like, we've been married for 4 years, and yeah, we've had conversations about kids, but also, like, what's in any of your business? Like, who knows
What
that?
did your mom ask you the other day? Like it
And
left
not in
me-
a bad way. It's just, and she didn't ask me in a bad way,
No.
but she was like, do you not want to have kids, or can you just not get pregnant? And I'm like, that's, first of all, it's a really personal question. Yes, you're my mother. But I'm like, imagine if I was going through infertility. So many, I mean, that is the field that I worked in, right? I worked with postpartum moms and newborn babies and going through that whole transition of life, right? And I see so many people like, oh, like, this was like this is our 4th, like, this is our rainbow baby, or I've had all of these losses and this is my first one, right, that I was able to, like, so many people struggle, or this is IVF, right, or I've spent $100,000 trying to get this baby. So just be very sensitive whenever people, thankfully, like, we, as far as we know, are not going through that, but a lot of people are. And I feel like those questions, like, they're meant in like a very like nice way, and people are truly excited for you, but just be conscious of, like, you don't know what they're going through, right? And so whenever we constantly, any family gathering is, so when are the kids coming?
How do you let these questions in your ear, and how do you let them out? Tell everyone.
Well, first, we know our goals, right? And so as long as me and him know our goals, it doesn't matter. Like, I can tell people a million different things, right? They're still going to ask me the
I always
next
tell
time
them
I
next
go.
year. It's been like 6 years that I've been saying next
Right?
year.
I
you
just
know,
feel
but-
like as long as you and your partner have the same idea, like, it doesn't matter what people say. Like, because I've been called old, like, you're getting old, right? I had all 3 of my kids by now. Good for you, right? It's not for me. Also, did you get to travel to multiple countries and travel internationally? And do you have this rental portfolio that I have? No, you do. No, you do not. Like, we've had different priorities, right? And also, because I did work in the field that I did, I know what's old and I know what's not old, right? I've had older moms, right, with their first baby, and they still were able to have a baby perfectly fine.
There's a question, right? They're like, what's the question? Like, what's your ideal, like, perfect day or perfect week, vacation, whatever? And then
these are two parents, like two moms.
A lot of the parents, they're like, I don't know, like a day by myself at the beach.
Like, it's never with the kids.
Yeah.
And not in a bad way, but it's like, kids are not a game. Like, kids are a huge responsibility, and we take that very seriously. Like, both of my sisters have kids, right? My little sister, thankfully, like, her kid is like attached to her at her hip. I'm like, I asked my nephew, I'm like, do you love me? He's like, I love my mom.
That's
like, I didn't
answer.
ask you. I love my mom and I love my dad. That's always his answer. And so, yeah, like, my mom can babysit for a little bit, but maybe a night he'll spend the night. She can't go out and go on these trips, right? Now, that is a life she chose, and she loves her life. She loves her kid. I love her kid. But right now, we're almost kind of a little selfish, and we're like, we're still dating each other. We're still enjoying marriage. We're still getting to, like, we're still figuring it out, and, like, we're going through different stages of life. Like, right now, I have 30-something chickens at home. I have a whole garden. I have trips planned in my head, not booked, in my head. And I want my money to go towards that right now. And then whenever I feel like I'm ready, like, I'm sure it'll be a surprise to everybody, right? Mm-hmm. And it's still gonna be just as nice as if I did it 5 years ago. So I think that just knowing the goals and, like, sticking to that in any aspect of your life, like, if you know what you want to do, doesn't matter if you come up to me and tell me, hey, you need to have kids now, right? Well, it's just not part of our goal right now. So it doesn't even matter what you say.
It's about being ready yourself versus society telling you that you're ready. Mm-hmm. And if you're not ready and you don't know that you're not ready, you're just open, you're just floating. You don't have a thought process on that with yourself. Then you may think
ready for society is like, you have a good job, a home, a car, and you're married. Yeah. You're ready.
Yeah. You're fertile, go have babies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't know that thought comes in and it forms, and then you have babies because society told you.
Yeah, and then you're struggling and you're having issues in your relationship because you were not ready. Because someone else told you that you were.
And also being ready as a couple, and I want to touch on when you said you've dated versions of her and vice versa, right? Mm-hmm. Growing together versus growing separate. Mm-hmm. How do you guys think, or how do you guys have actually grown over the last few years? Were there times when you felt like you were growing separately, or you were constantly always growing together?
I think we've always grown together. I don't think we've ever, I think maybe it came to it maybe slightly growing separately whenever I was going through my career and he was in real estate. And so those are very two different points in our lives. Like, I was going through the traditional route and going through school, and he was a college dropout, and he was working for free somewhere else. It was a very different way. And so I stayed in my lane. I don't blame her. I stayed in my lane. He stayed in his lane. And I think it was about 2-ish years where we were going through I was working night shift and he was working during the day. So we didn't see each other for that time. We would
be on the phone and driving down 40. What exit are you on? 216. Oh, I'm about to pass you.
At each other
and then we'll be on the fast lane and just like open the way. Oh, I saw you. And then that was it.
That was
for
it.
3 days in the week.
Or like he would wake me up and he'd be like, I brought you lunch. And it was like 2 p.m. and I had to work at 6. And I'm like, it would be like you waking me up at 2 in the morning and saying, here's some breakfast. And then I had to like actually get up and get ready. Like, it was a very weird point of our lives. And I think that it's like we were here and then we kind of went like this, but then we came right back, right? I don't think that constantly we like.
Yeah, but to your question, I think we've been together for so long. We like the same music. We like the same food. We have the same attitude about traveling and exploring, and like we're best friends. We're not even a couple when we travel. We're just best friends. Like, you want a club? Let's go club. You want to be at the beach all day? Let's do that. Like, we do really good on vacation. I think that's why we travel a lot.
We do really
but
well.
We grew up together. The chicken was my idea. The chicken coop thing was my idea. She was like, we are not having chickens. And then
Out of
now
nowhere.
they're her chickens. You know, like, we just kind of work really
Do they all have
well.
names now?
Most of them.
Okay.
Right now we have a ton of them because it's really hard to know whether they're hens or roosters. Like, we don't know if they're like girls or boys. So it would be awful if I just got one of each breed and then they end up being roosters, half of them, right?
We can't keep those. Yeah, so.
Oh, really?
can't.
Yeah, we have
Why
to
is
give
that?
those. Just the neighborhood. and they're loud.
Most counties don't allow it unless you have like a ton of.
And I don't know if you knew this or not, but you don't need a rooster to get eggs from the hens. Yeah.
So many people think that. That's so weird.
So
So you can keep like one chicken, and she'll give you eggs. You don't need a rooster.
I used to co-parent these chickens with my buddy Santana and my friend Laura. And then the city took away, well, the city was like, hey, you can't have chickens, so Santana took them to a farm. But he had one rooster and I think 12, 13 chickens and a turkey. We would take turns feeding them. They were right close to my house. You've seen my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were amazing.
They're the best.
But what we found out was, I think the rooster was going around fertilizing
Yes,
each chick.
yes.
That's
So
all
if you
they
want
do.
That's all they
then
do. They
And it takes a
fertilize.
second or two.
It's like they make babies.
Yeah.
The roosters are there to make babies.
The rooster guy was pretty rude. Like, he would like grab them from the neck and
They're-
push them down.
they're-
Yeah, yeah. So you don't
was
need
mean.
them, right? So
Yeah.
if you know, we like the chickens, and we want the eggs. And we have the garden, and it kind of all works together. So, but you don't need.
They're not meat birds. I just want to put out there.
Yeah.
They're my pets, right? Like, they
Very
serve a
serious about
purpose.
that.
They serve a purpose. But his dad has joked about, like, once I gift them to him, because I want to gift him some chickens. He's like, maybe one day you'll come home and I'll make you dinner and it'll be chicken. And I'm like,
Oh no.
say one more
No.
comment like that and then you will not be getting any chickens, right?
Yeah.
So no, I'm very, very serious about that part. I just want eggs.
Are you guys vegan yet?
No.
No, I tried it.
No.
I tried it. Me and Natalie Natalie with Philip, we can have this conversation all day. Like, our ancestors, right? We go back to our ancestors, right? Just
Yeah.
like whole foods, right?
Yeah.
Eat whole foods. So I don't know if I necessarily want to eat a plant-based diet. I love meat, and so did our ancestors.
That's interesting. Ancestry plays a big role in diets, in relationships, in the people we pick, and the religious and political beliefs that we hold. Would you guys say that your religious, since you got together so long ago, your religious and political beliefs were similar?
How can I
Or
put
were they
this?
not even formed because it was that long ago?
So, no, I don't think so. He had a really weird kind of upbringing, I guess, like religiously. And I was raised Catholic, right? I got baptized Catholic. I was not like always going to church, so it's not like something huge in my life. And I think because it wasn't huge in my life and it wasn't really huge on his life because of where he came from, that's just kind of part of it. So like we believe in a higher power, yes, but like we don't always go to church. Like it's not like that, unfortunately. But in regards to political views, he's very quiet. I think I'm a little bit more vocal, not necessarily publicly, but like I can talk with our friends about it, right? And we can agree to disagree. But I don't think he necessarily ever really has an opinion.
No.
You think couples can have completely separate political and religious beliefs and still have the same
No.
perfect?
No. I don't think so.
I agree with that.
I don't think so. Politics and religion are two huge, like I don't know how do you say it? Like they're two very big
anchors. I would say they're anchors.
Right, they really are. I know a couple that she is a straight Democrat and he's a straight Republican, and they have like group chats with their parents and stuff, and they're perfectly fine with it. Now, that may be okay. You can keep that to yourself, right? Because if it doesn't bother you, a lot of people just like, if it doesn't concern me, right? If it doesn't hurt my pockets, if it doesn't hurt my family, I don't care. I think politics can be fine, right? Religion, on the other hand, when it's mixed with politics, if it's both of them, I don't think that I don't think that people can just get along, especially whenever family holds a huge part in relationships. The family really does. And so whenever you start mixing two different religions, a lot of people have a ton of opinions. And if you're not good at blocking that out, it's going to be very easy for that to crumble, like very, very quickly, I would say.
As long as it doesn't affect me, I'm fine with it, you know. But she's right. I'm Cuban. Religion was completely banned in Cuba for a very long time. So my parents didn't grow up going to church. Neither did I. Then we come here to the United States. My parents did go to church at the beginning, maybe for a year, but they didn't like what they saw. Maybe they weren't used to it at all. So I didn't continue to go.
Well, we both respect other people's points of views.
Yeah, as long as it doesn't affect me.
Or that person is negatively, like,
Yes,
acting.
I'm happy. I'm super interested, right? Like you said, what religion you came up in, and I'm like, oh,
he's gonna go research it now.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know enough about that. And the fact that you said all those things about it, I'm like, I want to know more about it.
It's deep, very deep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm interested in all that stuff, but for me, I don't even pray. Like I don't.
I do.
Yeah, I don't even pray. Like, that wasn't a thing for me growing up, So for me, it was more of, hey, do the right thing. Treat others like you would like them to treat you. And if you see somebody in help, like, do whatever you can to help that person. So it's like morals, right? Like, you have these things to do, but I don't necessarily go and say, I can't eat this type of food because of this religion. I'd say I can't eat this type of food because it stays in my system for 25 days, and that's not good for my health,
Correct.
So that's the way I look at things.
And yet, it's still okay for a lot of people that are not very religious and not very politically affiliated, but still, for some people that are somewhat, we say that, hey, don't talk about religion and politics. Just don't bring it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's so crazy that the two most important things that hold some value or a lot of value in your life, you don't want to talk about them early on in the relationship. You'd rather waste months or years before bringing it up or talking about it.
We keep going back to communication, right? Just being vocal about how you feel and
having a problem with anything that's remotely confrontational.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you can't even tell me anything about it because I am one that, like, a problem comes up and I'm like, come on, let's talk about it. Because I can't do the whole, like, well, it'll come up at some other point. Nope. Well, when it does come up at another point, it's going to be worse, right? So let's go ahead and just fix it now. Let's nip it in the bud and let's continue about our lives. Because if not, it starts lingering, right? It starts lingering and then it, like, becomes to the point where it's like you can't function because now you have 10 things that are now lingering, right? You can't do your business properly. You can't be happy with your partner because now you have all these things that are in the back of your mind. He's happy. Right? He's happy because nothing's being brought up. But, like, what about me? It's, like, kind of eating me up. Like, there has to be, again, this sort of balance. And I think communication is the biggest thing for us.
100%. And I would say this is probably more common with men because I've been that way, too, that, okay, let's just not bring it up. It happened. Let's get over it. Let's kick the can down further. But there is a point where we just can't kick it down further. And it's like, okay,
it's a real issue.
Let's talk. Okay, let's talk. Okay, you want to talk? Let's talk.
Right.
And now we're mad.
And what?
And now we're pissed that we have to talk.
Yeah, like, great.
Yeah.